Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video we will start designing this YouTube-like scrollable tabs using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this is how it works. We can see that there are these different categories over here inside these tabs, and we can scroll to the right and to the left. And we also have these buttons, and if I click on this right arrow we can go to the right, and if I click on the left arrow we can go to the left. And we can see that when we are all the way to the left arrow disappears. And when we are all the way to the right arrow disappears. So this is how it works, and it is just like the YouTube categories that you see on the top of the YouTube homepage. So in this video we'll just design it, and in the next video I'll show you how to add the JavaScript and add the functionality. So let's get started. Right here I have created this folder called Scrollable Tabs, and I just opened it with VS Code. Now let's create the necessary files. So let's click on New File, and let's create an HTML file. I'll just name it index.html. And we'll also need a CSS file. Let's create a new file and let's name it style.css. And we'll also create a JavaScript file. Let's name it main.js. Right, let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code you have the shortcut where you can just press exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. And let's type link and press tab, and here I'll just link the CSS file. So I'll just type style.css, and let's also link the JavaScript file over here. So I'll just type script :src and press tab, and here I'll just type main.js. Right, now let's start with the markup of our design. Now the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division, and let's give it a class of scrollable tabs container. Now the first thing we need to have in this is the left arrow, which we see over here on the left. So let's create a division and let's give it a class of left arrow. Now in this we will add the icon. So we will use the icons from heroicons.com. Right here I'm in heroicons.com, and let's search for left. And here we have these icons. Let's choose this icon right here, chevron left. So let's click on copy SVG, and let's go back and paste it over here. And let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you have that installed, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And now here we can see that the left arrow is being displayed. Now the next thing we need to have are these categories or these labels. So let's go back, and for that we'll create an unordered list. So outside this left arrow division, let's create an unordered list. And in that we'll have list items, and in the list items we will have anchor tags. And here you can add the links of these buttons over here. So the first list item we need to have is all, and then we have all these other list items. Now you can also click on any of these and these will be active. So let's go back, and here I'll just type all, and then we need to have all these other list items. So I'll just copy and paste these from my original design. Right, so here I have copied all these list items, and for the first one we need to have a class of active, because for the first list item here we can see we have this different styling. So here let's give it a class of active, and we'll style it in the CSS. And the last thing we need to have over here in the HTML is this right arrow. So let's create a division with the class of right arrow. And let's go back to the heroicons.com website, and let's search for right, and I'll just copy this chevron right icon from here. So let's click on copy SVG, and let's go back and paste it over here. Now if we go back to our design, this is how it looks. We have the left arrow, and then we have these list items, and then we have the right arrow. Now it's time for us to style this using CSS. So let's go back, and here we have already linked the CSS file. So let's go to style.css file, and let's start with the container division. So we have this class of scrollable tabs container. So let's target that over here. Let's type scrollable tabs container, and let's set the font family to Roboto, and let's set a background color of black. And we have a large size for the icons, so we cannot see all these content better. So first of all, let's resize the icons. So let's go back, and here I'll just type scrollable tabs container SVG, And let's set the width and the height to 24 pixels. And we'll also add a padding of 8 pixels. And we'll also set the cursor to pointer. And let's also set the color of the icons to white. So this is how it looks right now. Right now, let's get back to styling the scrollable tabs container. Now here we'll add a max width of 700 pixels. And we'll also bring it to the center. So I'll just type margin. And for top and bottom, I'll just set the margin to 16 pixels. And for left and right, I'll just set it to auto. And now it is in the center. And now let's also add a border radius. So I'll just type border radius. And let's set it to 4 pixels. So now we can see we have these rounded corners. Now the next thing we will do is we will position all these anchor tags one next to the other. So the anchor tags are inside the list items, which are inside the unordered list. So we will add a display of flex to the unordered list so that all these list items will be one next to the other. So here let's tap scrollable tabs container UL, and let's set the display to flex. And now we can see all these list items are one next to the other. And we'll also add a gap of let's try 16 pixels. And I think that looks alright. For now, let's hide these icons. So here let's type display of none. And now here we can see this is how it looks. Let's add some padding to the UL. So I'll just type padding. And let's set the padding to 12 pixels top and bottom and 24 pixels left and right. And we'll also set the margin of the UL to 0. Right now the next thing we will do is we will style these anchor tags. So let's type scrollable tabs container A. And the first thing we will do is we'll set the color of the text to white. And we'll also remove the underline. So let's type text decoration and let's set it to none. And let's add a background color. So here I'll just type background. And let's set it to dark gray. So I'll just type 333. Now let's add some padding to these anchor tags. So I'll just type padding and let's set the padding to 4 pixels top and bottom and 24 pixels left and right. And we'll also set the display to inline block so that we have the correct margin and padding. So let's type display of inline block. And we'll also add a border radius. And let's set it to 4 pixels. Now we also need to remove these bullets from here. So for that, let's go back to the UL. And let's type list style and let's set it to none. And we'll also remove the ability to select the text. So let's go back and here for the anchor tag, let's tap user select and let's set it to none. And now we are not able to select the text. Now here we can see when we have multiple words, the words are split into 2 lines. So for that, let's go back to the anchor tag and here we need to add a property called white space and we need to set it to no wrap. And now we can see that all the text are in a single line. Now by default, the first anchor tag is selected. So we need to have a different color. So here we can see we have a white background color and a dark text color. So let's go back and if you go to the HTML file, here we can see we have already added a class of active to the first anchor tag. So here let's type scrollable tabs container a.active. Now this will only select the active anchor tags. And here let's add a background color of white and let's set the color of the text to black. Right now the next thing we will do is we will hide all the content that goes outside this container. So we don't want to see all this text over here. We just want to see everything inside the container. So let's go back and here for the main container, let's type overflow and let's set it to hidden. And now if we go back to our design, here we can see all the content that is outside the container is hidden. But the problem is that we cannot scroll to the left or to the right. So for that, let's go back to the UL. And here for the UL, you have to type overflow X and you have to set it to scroll. And now if we go over here and if we scroll, we are now able to scroll to the left and to the right. Now here we can see at the bottom we have the scroll bar displayed. So we need to hide this. So let's go back and here we need to type scrollable tabs container UL : hyphen WebKit hyphen scroll bar. And here we need to set the display to none. And now we can see that the scroll bar is not being displayed. Now this property is not for all the browsers, so you also have to type -ms -overflow style, and we need to set it to none, and also scroll bar width, and you have to set it to none as well. Right now the next thing we will do is we will style the arrows. So here we can see we have this right arrow and the left arrow. So let's go back to our CSS and let's remove this display of none from here. Now we need to position these arrows relative to the container, which is scrollable tabs container. So here you have to tap position relative, and now let's style the arrows. So here let's tap scrollable tabs container, right arrow, and scrollable tabs container, left arrow, because those are the classes for the containers of the arrows. So here we have the right arrow and here we have the left arrow. So let's set the position of these to absolute, and let's set the height to 100% of the parent, and let's set the width to 100 pixels. And here we can see we have the left arrow. Let's tap top of 0, and now we can see we have both the arrows displayed over here. Now let's bring it to the center. So let's tap display of flex and align items to the center. Right now for the right arrow we need to set the position to the right. So let's select the right arrow. Here let's tap scrollable tabs container, right arrow, and let's set the right value to 0. And now here we can see that the right arrow is on the right, but it is not exactly where we want it to be. It should be over here at the right side. So for that, let's go back to our style.css file, and here let's add a background color. And now we can see this is the width of the right arrow division. Now we need to position this to the right of this division. So for that you have to type justify content, and you have to set it to flex end to move it to the right side. And let's also add a little bit of padding to the left and the right. So here let's tap padding, and I'll just set it to 0 for top and bottom and 10 pixels left and right. Right now the next thing we will do is we will add a linear gradient background color. So here we can see we have this fading color from black to transparent. So here we can see it clearly. So let's add this type of color. Let's go back, and here for the right arrow let's tap background of linear gradient, and let's tap to left, and we'll start from black color and we'll set it to 50%, and then we'll tap transparent. And now we can see we have the correct color for the right arrow. Now let's do the same for the left arrow. So let's type scrollable tabs container, left arrow, and I'll just copy this background color from here, and here let's tap to right, and everything else will be the same. So here we can see we have the correct colors for the arrows. Now when we hover over these icons we need to have a different background color. So let's type scrollable tabs container svg :hover, and let's tap background, and let's set it to 333. And now let's go back, and if you hover over this we have this background color. We'll also add a round shape for this. So here for the svg let's type border radius, and let's set it to 50%, and now we can see we have this round shape. Now by default we don't want to have the first arrow visible, so let's go to our HTML file, and here for the right arrow let's add a class of active, and we will only display the arrows which have the active class. So let's go back to our style.css file. Now here for both the arrows let's type display of none, and here let's type scrollable tabs container, right arrow dot active, and scrollable tabs container, left arrow dot active, and let's set the display to flex over here. And now if you go back, here we can see for the right arrow we have the active class, so that's being displayed over here. So everything is working as intended. So that's basically it for this video. In the next video I'll show you how to add the functionality of these arrows. So if you have any doubts you can ask in the comments below, and if you like this video please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.